In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. It's another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with yours truly, Bryce D. Nyer, coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. Yes, that's right. And I'm here sipping on my Mountain Dew with crushed ice, and I'm not supposed to have that, but guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. So today's episode, is going to be about the subject of detachment versus attachment. So recently, on Instagram platform, I discussed this concept of attachment and detachment. And this subject came up in speaking to somebody very near and dear to my heart, and as well talking to one of my favorite people, which is the producer of my podcast, Bryce Prescott, a Media Automated, who is fantastic. Not only great working with him in business, but clearly been very instrumental in my personal life in achieving many of the things that I have achieved. So let's talk about it. Let's get rolling on this. So here's the deal. I have found that when you're in the legal matrix, that you can, if you're not careful, you can become detached, and you become detached in all of the domains of body, of being, of balance, and business, and ultimately it can result in you having no fulfillment. And the reason, again, this happened to me is because I became a prisoner of the legal matrix, and my physical fitness suffered. The relationships with my family suffered. Relationships with my friends suffered. Business suffered. My relationship with God suffered. It all suffered. And it was not a good situation. And once I had joined Wake Up Warrior in 2018 and taken the assessments and realized that I was in a deep pit, and all of the tsunamis and storms in my life and the sedations, I came to realize years later that being in this prison, being in The Walking Dead, had caused me to detach myself from many people, many things passions in my life. And in a sense, you go into this gray area, and this gray area is like where you have no feeling, where everything's just kind of gray. There's no color. There's no passion. And if you're not careful, lawyers, if you're not careful, young lawyers, if you continue this for decades, you will not realize that you are in this state of detachment. This then brings me to a subject that I have spoken about before when we talk about a soul detox. Now, you hear people talk about going through detox for alcohol and drugs and those sort of things, and the process, for some it takes months, for some it takes years, some it takes a lifetime. Well, see, it's the same thing when you have to detach off of toxic people and toxic situations. Because in order to attach to the things and the people that you should surround yourself with, you're going to have to go through this process of the detachment. So what happened at first is you became detached from all the things that were beneficial to you, that were positive in your life, and you kind of let a cancer grow around you to where nobody could get in. And you basically created this prison of this routine that took you nowhere in body and being in balance in business, and ultimately resulted in having zero fulfillment. And when you have zero fulfillment, you might as well be the Walking Dead. Because essentially, that's what happens to you. You become this zombie in life. You become this zombie in the domains. And so then once you realize the pits and sedations that you're in, once you realize that you're in a really place that you need to climb out of this pit, then you have to start taking the actions every day, every week, every month, and throughout each year in order to attach yourself to those people, to those entities, to those relationships that will help you to rise as a king or queen in your kingdom. Now, your kingdom could be your home, it could be your business, your company, your real estate business, your law firms. These are just examples of your kingdoms. But overall, your kingdom is going to be comprised of the four domains of body, of being, of balance, and of business. And so here, when you think about it, I want you to look for your law students right now. A lot of you are studying in the academic world. You might have some free time, you may not. But what have you done to yourself? Have you created, even in the academic world, where you're letting nobody in, you're not exercising, you're not having a relationship with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your spouse, or your family members, your friends, and then basically you've also forgotten, depending on what your belief system is, but if you're Christian, if you've forgotten about God, you've forgotten about Jesus, if you've forgotten about those connections, and then your business right now might be, you're studying or maybe applying for jobs or considering opening, owning, operating, leading your own law firm, but you have become so detached from everything that you're just the walking dead. And this can happen. I see this all the time with my colleagues, and this has happened to me. And once you become attached to the positive things and the positive people, the people that help you, that help you grow, then you're gonna have this freedom that's going to occur, and then you're not going to know what to do to yourself. And see, that's what happened to me, because once I had detached myself from the reality. Then when I attached myself to so many positive things and these freedoms and started working to address the pits in body, being, balance, and business, ultimately leading to fulfillment, it put me in this, wow, how can I say this? Almost like I was a ship sailing, but sometimes uncertain where I was going because of all this freedom. And this can happen. And it will happen. It happened to me. So what happens is you just don't know what to do with it. And sometimes you become afraid to start these new business or personal relationships. And I'll give you an example. So many times throughout my career, I thought about after my first law partner and I split up, and he went his way and I went my way, and we had solo firms. I had considered getting new law partners, building a firm again, but I had become so detached. That I was really not sure what to do. And I sat on this fence of indecision. And that can happen. And when that happens, you're really making a decision when you don't make a decision. And you have to sit there and you've got to take this assessment of where you are right now today. And with whom are you attached? In terms of people, in terms of business, in terms of other companies. I mean, you just have to take this deep look, and you have to go through this soul detox, this detox in all of the domains in order to figure out who and what you should attach yourself to from this day moving forward. This is what I'm doing in my life right now. I mean, it could be anything from going through a divorce, it could be from dating, it could be from starting a new law firm, a new company. No matter what it is, you have to determine who and what you should attach yourself to. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to be like the ship with no rudder, just heading into the ocean, with no direction, and you're just going to end up somewhere, crashing into something. So what I want you to do in this attachment, detachment thing is I want you to ask the better question. Where are you in your world right now? Who and what are you attached to? Or who and what are you detached from? Should you detach from people or certain companies or certain professions or certain things you're doing? And what should you attach yourself to? Is it a physical fitness program? Is it maybe a relationship? Is it perhaps a new career? Something? What is it you should attach yourself to? And are you giving yourself the freedom and the clarity and the focus to do that? Because that's what I'm doing right now. And I would not tell you to do anything that I'm not doing myself right now. This is key. When you lead, you have to live what you lead. And I am going through this process right now. Even at this stage in my life, it's never too late if you're going to start over if it's something positive. If it's destructive, that's a different thing. But Just because you're a certain age, whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, it doesn't matter. If there's something that you need to detach yourself from, then you need to do it. And if there's somebody or something you need to attach yourself to, then you need to do that. So you have to look at both of these relationships. All right, I just want to discuss that. Again, ask yourself the better question. Where in your world should you detach from somebody or something? And maybe perhaps who should you attach yourself to, or what, or vice versa. Ask those better questions, answer those better questions, because once you start doing that, you're going to get that clarity and you're going to get that focus. This is Bryce Denier coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where every day men and women don the uniform and do what? They go out and wage war to preserve the freedoms that we so often take for granted. This is Bryce out.